Okay, I have had a cursed stream, it appears. For the past couple days, we just can't seem to get this Get Ready With Me done. I am more than eager to get this over with because, again, it's been a hex. And last night, we were in the middle of it talking about a YouTuber named Suris on healthcare, and it just died. So I would like to pick up where we left off with Suris with healthcare. Some of you weren't here, so I'm just going to start from the beginning of his clip. I'm going to end up mushing all this together into one thing. And who knows, maybe I'll say it better this time. So let's just get into it. Suris is far left. He might even consider himself a communist. I'm not quite sure. And he put out a video called The Worst Argument Against Universal Healthcare. And ironically, what he ended up producing was the worst argument against universal healthcare because it is a stinkeroo. And while we watch this, I'm going to be getting ready. I'm going out to a protest today to reopen all businesses and let people get on with their lives and get out from under the government boot. So here we go. Let's start to listen to Suris. Hopefully I have everything set up properly.
No, Suris. He's not saying that obesity, smoking, and drinking thing because he's worried about them. He's saying that because he doesn't think an obese, smoking, drinking person deserves medical treatment because all those are things you choose to do for yourself. Now, let's...
So he's already setting up a straw man. Now, I know it's hard to come in without the previous context, but I think enough of us have had discussions on healthcare that we know what this is going on here. Let me get my astringent. He's basically making the argument that people who think that there should not be one-payer healthcare think that certain people do not deserve healthcare. Of course, he's coming at it like it's a right, which it isn't, so he's presupposing something. But even so, there's nobody, there might be a few sociopaths, but most non-monstrous people do not think anybody doesn't deserve health care. Just like nobody thinks there's people who don't deserve food or housing. It's just that we don't think that everyone should have to pay for it. So the argument he's making has to do with people who will make the argument that if you socialize medicine, then you also socialize the risks and the cost. So why should somebody not worry about things they might want to do that could make them unhealthy if they don't have to bear the medical cost of it? That's just a simple life equation that we all make. When we personally have to bear the cost, most people will be a little more cautious. But when you know that, no matter what you do, you're going to be taken care of like a baby, then you're a little bit more reckless than you would normally be. That is the argument, not that anyone deserves health care. The second part of the argument is if someone is going to choose the socialized medicine as their, public doctor to just patch them up after anything, why should everyone have to pay for that when some people will still be cautious? This is not an unreasonable argument. It's the tragedy of the commons put onto healthcare. When you make everything free and there's no repercussions for accessing it, or accessing it, I guess the better way to pronounce that, then people are going to take advantage of it. That's human nature. So he's going to continue this straw man over and over and over. But let's hear it.
For some reason, the most widely held American belief is you shouldn't get what you didn't earn. This is why they don't want national health care. Nobody earned it.
Nope, it's not a matter of earn, though I could be quibbling on words here. Earn seems to imply merit, as if some people are better than other people. It's like there's a higher class of people that deserve certain things. But if you mean earn as in, if you want somebody's labor, you want somebody's service, you need to pay for it or come to some other agreement with them. You don't get to make everyone else pay for it, even if it's something you really need. I mean, forget about health care. Most people, as I've said before, do not need health care on a daily basis. But they do need food, they do need clothing, they do need water, they do need housing, and I don't think I should have to buy everyone's house either, but that doesn't mean that I don't think everyone deserves housing. You know, this isn't a worthy and unworthy individual type of argument. It's a type of argument of you're in this world and you've got to take care of yourself or band together with other people. You don't get to force other people. Suris in other contexts, particularly like romantic or interpersonal contexts, perfectly understands consent. I don't know why he doesn't understand consent in this area. Perhaps he would believe in Good Samaritan laws, because I'm sure he believes in a right to life, obviously. Does he? Funny, I could get into even the abortion thing here. I believe he's pro-choice. So if he believes that healthcare is a right and he can force other people to provide it for him, if life is a right, why doesn't he believe you can't force the mother to provide life? Or some other mother, or any other person to get hooked up to another. Someone needs my kidney. Am I hogging 2 of them? He's very emotional about healthcare. There probably is health problems in his family, and I can commiserate with that, but that still doesn't make it right to rob other people.
Sure, people will say it's for one reason or another, but it's basically the schoolyard jealousy of, but Bobby didn't pay for health care. He doesn't even have a job. He doesn't deserve to live. And I agree.
That was a weird cut. He doesn't believe that somebody doesn't deserve to live. I cut that in a really weird place. But also, no one else says that. When you have to make out your opposition to be absolutely sociopathic monsters, you probably are not representing your opposition properly, because an awful lot of people oppose universal health care. And if that many people are sociopaths, we've got a lot bigger problems than any problems with health care. Let me slather on this moisturizer. Oh, that was way too much. Oh my God. Well, I guess I really needed to be moisturized today. Here's what's funny. I've got, these nasty, towels you find, in public bathrooms. When the toilet paper and paper towel crisis was going on, this is all I could find. So I have, thousands of these things. So I'm going to use them up, But, it's not the best quality of paper goods. Okay, let's go back to the video. And I will be taking a look at your comments if there is any. I do not know. Yeah, there's a few here. Let me just, I like to interact with people. Cody had said, guy makes it sound like it's a zero-sum game. Exactly. But again, that's what a lot of far leftists do. And I know I'm going to be very critical of Suris here, but I actually like the guy. That's why I cover him a lot. I just think he's a super nice guy that I'd like to meet. There isn't a limited pie of healthcare, and if you don't get your, little sliver, all of a sudden it's going to be gone. But let's continue here, and let me minimize. See, I'm getting better at this. Let's go.
That I had about healthcare a few weeks ago that I think I want to reinforce here, and it's this thought process that I've seen from people like Enter and others who say that they're just concerned, or say that they think that people should pay for their own healthcare. The whole the conservative American mindset of fuck you, I've got mine.
Okay, I'm not a fan of conservatives, but that is not the conservative mindset. Again, Suris, when you have to just demonize people so thoroughly, perhaps your argument is weak. And I'm sure, I'm only even addressing it, not that I'm here to white knight for conservatives, but I'm sure he probably would say the same about libertarians. And worse, probably, because we're at least consistent on the issue. It's very emotional, quite obviously, for him. So let's continue.
How many times in the chat, and give me an H in the chat if you've heard this before, where somebody says that they think that there should be certain like pre-qualifiers that prevent people from getting healthcare. So like if you're obese, fuck it, I'm obese. If somebody smokes, they shouldn't get healthcare. If you've heard that at least once, let me know. Or if you've heard the extension of that, which is, I don't want national health care because I don't want my tax dollars to go to some obese smoking person when, you know, they're in need of health care. And I'm seeing a lot of H's in the chat. Apparently, people have seen that.
Okay. Stop. Go bigger. Just trying to find my sunscreen's going out today. All right, where do I even go from here? It is a valid argument. If somebody is purposely, by their own actions, costing more, why should I have to pay for it? Why should anyone have to pay for it? And the argument he makes is that your money goes into a big pot. It's not fungible in that you can't say this dollar is going to this person. And yes, that's true. But I presume Suris is also anti-war the way I am. And probably would say he doesn't want his stolen tax money, though he wouldn't put it as stolen, going towards wars. But I could make the same argument to him. None of your money is going toward any specific war. You know, there is, I'm sure, some kind of national defense, even if it's minimal, that you think is appropriate. Your money might be going there. It just goes in some big pot. Same thing, Suris. And I doubt you're going to give up that argument. The fact is, everyone's money is going to be calculated by a certain denominator, that being the cost. And the cost will be influenced by people who are purposely causing a greater burden. The minute you socialize something, you make your business everybody's business. And you don't want that. That's a violation of rights. But since you don't have a right to have other people pay for it, you are then accountable to them. And that really is a huge infringement upon or has implications for medical privacy and medical liberty. You should be able to live like shit if you want to. Hell, I'm not the best person with their diet. I live on like 15 Diet Mountain Dews a day, but I don't expect you to pay for it.
When you say this statement, if you are the type of person who said this statement unironically, I want to point out that your money, aside from the fact that your money doesn't just go to that person, but let's first appeal to your emotions a little bit.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I did that right. I better slather on some sunscreen. He's gonna get into some really bad emotional arguments. And I don't disagree with emotional arguments. I'm not the Ben Shapiro facts don't care about your feelings like type of snark. Because we are human beings, and human beings have feelings, and to pretend like we're robots isn't realistic. But feelings have to be balanced with rationality. Those are two beautiful parts of the human nature, and one cannot be predatory upon the other. And this emotional argument that he's going to do is abusive, frankly. And you want to know what? No matter how much something tugs at your feels, if you feel so passionately about it, you go take care of it. You don't get to steal from other people because your feels are involved. So let's continue.
If you think that somebody who smokes, as an example, I don't smoke, I don't like smoke, I'd rather never smoke, but let's say somebody does smoke, and then they get lung cancer, and you think that they don't deserve health care.
Oh, God, I just can't stand that. Every time he says that, nobody is saying, Mr. Strawman, how about a little fire there, Mr. Strawman? Nobody is saying they don't deserve health care. What I am saying is I don't have to pay for it. Continue.
You are saying that this person, who is probably a mother, a father, a grandfather, grandmother, an uncle, somebody's brother or sister, definitely somebody's son or daughter, or in between, what have you, they do not deserve health care.
Once again, and I will say this till the cows come home, nobody is saying no one's grandma, brother, baby girl, baby boy doesn't deserve health care. Just like we're not saying they don't deserve food, they don't deserve housing, they don't deserve clothes, they don't deserve a job, whatever it might be. It's just, you've got to take care of it. One way or another, you don't get to force other people to use their bodies and their resources to support you. Consent, Suris, you normally understand that.
According to you, they don't deserve to live.
Oh, God.
They have lung cancer.
I just can't. Oh, my God. Tell the truth, Pinocchio. Nobody is saying no one deserves to live. You're making people who disagree with you sound like fucking Nazis with life unworthy of life. Really, Suris, I like you, but with that kind of demonization of people. How dare you say that about me?
And without treatment they will die, then you are telling them that they deserve to die.
Okay, I see a comment here in chat, and let me take a look. I'm blind, I'm old. Oh, okay. What I'd said, when you socialize something, when you make everyone bear the cost, then everyone really has a legitimate right to a say as to what you do with your own body, because they're paying for it. You know, like when you're a kid, and that is, in fact, what progressivism is. It wants to have perpetual adolescence from the womb to the tomb, where you always have a parent. You know, your kids, when you tell your kids, my house, my rules. I buy the groceries, you're going to eat what I buy. I'm paying for it. So the minute you socialize something, it does become everyone's business. The fact that you decided, and I'm not picking on it. I'm trying to pick on something that's not going to be some hot button topic, you know, but, let me just use myself, because hopefully somebody won't get offended. I chug down about 15 of these a day some days. I am sure that yellow number 9 that's in Diet Mountain Dew is not the best thing for my health, and I'm probably going to have like a freaking big, like, goiter growing out of my brain at some point when I'm 80 years old, but that's my business, because I'm paying for it. But if you're paying for it, that's when you start saying, you know, maybe we should pass laws that say you can't buy sodas above a certain ounce. One leads to two. I've made the same argument before with Georgists, who think that land belongs to everybody. Well, if land belongs to everybody, I don't want the KKK having their meeting house on my land. That's the natural outgrowth of these sorts of things.
Then you should also believe that somebody who is in a car wreck doesn't deserve health care. They don't deserve to have their life saved. Here's the reason. They chose to get in a car, knowing that there was a risk of crashing. They don't deserve to live anymore. Unless you want to be inconsistent.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Oh, God. That has to be one of the stupidest arguments I've ever heard. Riding in a car is not the same as doing something which the vast majority of people, if they do it consistently, are going to have health effects, such as smoking, shooting up heroin, eating 10,000 Twinkies, drinking 12 Mountain Dews a day, whatever it might be. Driving in a car has a risk, but not a statistical close to certainty. Now, people who are maybe race car drivers or purposely go out driving drunk, of course, no one's saying none of these people deserve to live, but to compare driving in a car, which is just a fact of modern life, whereas, you know, guzzling down 12 things of Mountain Dew is not a just comparison. He's next going to make the very ridiculous comparison of having a kid. That's just a biological function of human beings, dude. But yeah, If someone, listen, there's several reasons I haven't had children, and one of them is I don't think I'd be that great of a mother, and that is the primary reason. But I don't know, maybe I could have been. Everyone says once you hold the thing, you get this bond. But the second major reason I never had a kid is I didn't think I could afford it. Mostly because my money was being stolen for other people's kids, and that ain't right. And I didn't want to live on the public dole. If you can't afford a kid, you don't have a kid. And yes, situations happen in life where you could have children and then misfortune befalls you and then all of a sudden you can't afford them, but that's when charity comes in. But you don't purposely put yourself in a position of something you can't afford. That is frickin' selfish and entitled. But I can't believe that he brought up the issue of children. Yay, I figured it out. Richard says, I know you're not a conservative, but please listen sometime to Rush Limbaugh's The True Story of Thanksgiving and the Pilgrims that he does every Thanksgiving. He explains the Pilgrims' failed experiment with socialism extremely well. I will take a listen to that. Thank you very much, Richard. Okay, we're going to continue with Suris, and let me just qualify on the I'm not a conservative type thing. Obviously, I have some not so nice feels about both progressives and conservatives as a way. But you want to know something? There's nearly every tradition that has good things that everyone could learn from and gain from. Why do you think I listen to Suris, even though he's like a freaking communist? A, because I think he's a nice guy, and I really do like him. But I even find some good ideas. You should never get so tribalistic that you won't listen to something from somebody else. And even if you want to get to like the worst people, which I am not putting conservatives as, but like if you were just going to get to the most awful people in the world, the saying still is true. Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Shouldn't deserve health care because it was a choice that led to the child getting there. This idea that because people choose things, they suddenly do not deserve health care. But I bring up the child thing not because I think that their argument is going to be the child doesn't deserve health care because the parents chose to have a child. That would be a silly argument. No. This person believes that because this set of people they've effectively otherized, in this category over here, because these people don't deserve to live to them, this handful of people over here, then nobody should have health care because of these people. Now,
whew, that was a stinker. First point. And yes, I am doing my makeup. This is a get ready with me. Otherizing, he said. We otherized other people. But what has he been doing this whole show? Otherizing people who disagree with him in the worst possible terms by saying they don't think your mother deserves health care. They don't think babies deserve health care. How much can you otherize somebody? Otherizing isn't simply disagreeing, it's demonizing. And you've been demonizing Suris this whole time. And we don't believe what you say. Because I'm not obviously the conservative you're addressing, but on this issue, I probably have a lot in common with conservatives. It's absolutely ridiculous, this whole accusation of otherization. Unreal. And I think I got so upset about that. I think he said something else that I probably missed, but, we're covering it. Here we go.
Logical consequence of this is a principle of entailment. This is a logical consequence.
Suris, with all due respect, with all the stinkeroos you've been giving us, you have no right to be using the word logic at this point. Not in this discussion. Not today, Satan.
Not today.
Category of people over here who either do deserve it, or...
Oh, I know what I wanted to cover. He said because we've otherized a certain group. He gets sloppy with his terminology. I know what he was trying to say, but I want to say what he did say. Because we've otherized a certain group, then no soup for you. Nobody can have health care. That's funny, because I seem to have health care right now, and I have that opinion. Properly worded, not his demonization of it. So apparently having that opinion doesn't mean no one can have health care. I know what he meant is no one can have universal health care. And that's right. No one gets to, without other people's consent, force everyone to give something to them. Consent. What a concept.
Or just children. They deserve to die.
Yeah.
Because you'd rather not have national health care.
Oh my God. Everyone watch that Reason video, Remy, where, no matter what argument people make, he's like, you want people to die.
People need kidneys, it's sad but decreed, yet the senator's hoarding one more than she needs. I offer this bill and I hope you'll vote aye, unless of course you just want people to die.
That's exactly it. Think of the children. You want them to die. You want to kill the babies. Oh my God. And I don't like bringing abortion into everything, but Lord have mercy. If you're strenuously pro-choice, I think you should think twice before bringing up the you just want children to die argument. Really? Oh my God. And if we're going to get outrageous, let me get outrageous. I can see in his room here, he's got a lot of nice geeky toys. And I say that with affection because I'm a bit of a geek myself. Lots of collectibles. Got a really nice microphone. Can stream. You want to know how much clean water and wells that could buy for some kids in Africa, Suris? And you're sitting here, you admitted that you're a little bit overweight. I didn't say it, you did, which means that you have plenty of food, more than your fair share. You must want fucking kids to die. You're not sending all of that excess that you have to those children in Africa or other countries whose very life could depend upon $20 to build a well. You monster.
Or you'd rather be selective, in which case the previous argument still applies.
Like you're selective, right? That you're sitting here pounding the pulpit for universal health care, but I don't see you getting rid of your cushy life for kids who are thinking, in some impoverished areas, health care, hell, I would just like clean water.
You're being selected for arbitrary reasons. These people are still human beings. They still deserve healthcare. They still deserve that right.
It's not a right. You have a right to obtain it. You don't have a right for anyone else to give it to you. And no one argued they weren't human beings. Unless you're arguing, Suris, that kids who are perishing for lack of clean water are not human beings. How terrible of you. Obviously, I'm being facetious. I'm giving him a taste of his own medicine. Let's continue.
Your hatred for an individual over here who fits into this arbitrary category of smoker, obese, what have you.
All right. Oh, God. Hatred now. Hatred. You conservatives. Do you hate me? Because I drink too much Mountain Dew? What did I ever do to you? You hate me now. Dude, I know you hear yourself. And I've seen you critique, some of the nutsos out there that are just shrill, saying a bunch of really silly crap, like Alex Jones or Caitlin Bennett or any of that. But you realize you're doing the same thing. The things you're saying are just outright slanderous, ridiculous. Talk about otherizing. Oh, my word.
Imagine.
Wow, the land of make-believe.
Imagine having to be the person who had there's a 10-year-old girl dying of leukemia, and you have to go to that 10-year-old girl, and as she's sitting there, because she's poor, her family is poor, they can't afford health care for her, they can't afford to do that, and to get health care for her, they would either have to rely on charity or to get themselves massively in debt. You have to be the one, because you made this distinction. You need to tell me right now that you are willing to go to that 10-year-old girl, that 10-year-old boy, who's dying of leukemia. Knows they are, because kids are smart enough to understand that shit. Look, you have to tell them that you have a neighbor named Joe, and because Joe smokes, you don't want Joe to have universal health care. You want him to pay for his own. And because of that, Susie has to die.
You want people to die!
Oh my God. Alrighty. They have to die, huh? No one else could pay for it for them? There's no such thing as the Shriners Hospital or all kinds of charitable organizations? All because you have a neighbor, Bobby, who smokes, then, Julie or Susie or whoever he said has to die. Oh my God. Did you have an aneurysm that day, Suris, that you thought this was a decent argument? So let me turn that around on you. You have, let's see, I want to go full screen for this. You have otherized people who just happen not to be in the United States. And you want to know what? I think you should have to travel over to some impoverished country and say that you want your Nintendo or whatever the kids are playing with today, and all your nice furnishings and air conditioning and cushy life, rather than selling all your possessions and giving it to this village so that they could have clean water, so they have to die. Don't like that argument, Suris? You shouldn't, because it sucks, just like yours.
Sucky! Sucky is the word I would use.
How many times have you heard the argument, who's going to pay for it?
Here.
How about, I don't give a shit, as an argument against that? How about...
Ha! It gets really, really crazy. How about, I don't give a shit that you don't give a shit because my money is not your business? Let me just get some eyeliner on here. Doing my waterline. But it's going to get really crazy here in a minute, folks. Really crazy.
I don't give a shit. Because, guess what? The money in your wallet, to me, is not worth a human life.
Okay. Crazy. How about, I don't care what you think about the money in my wallet because it's not your money. And you are claiming that it's somehow trading money for life while the money in my wallet is for my life that you are now wanting to sacrifice for somebody else against my will. You don't know if the money you steal from me today to pay for whoever this fictional person that you're having this bleeding heart over but aren't willing to sell your own shit. You don't know that I might need it to save something else, or for something that a child or somebody else might need. Or perhaps I am saving it to help a different Susie in another country that you just killed because you want to steal it from me. I don't care what your opinion is of the money in my wallet. Get bent.
There is no reason that with as technologically advanced as we are right now, we cannot have healthcare for everyone.
When we do. You just cannot force other people to pay for it or provide for it. You see, what you're advocating, Suris, when you say you don't care about the money in my wallet, it belongs to other people. First, I'd say, come take it yourself. Like to see you try. But no, you won't. You'll have government thugs do that for you. And that's cowardice. Just like you said, you got to go tell Susie she has to die. Well, you come take the money yourself. But what is actual money? Money is just a tangible, way that we've made it instead of trading horses or whatever it might be. It is a reduction of my time and labor. I'm given money for my time and labor. So let's reduce it. My labor, you don't care. If it means if I were to labor in this way, I could save somebody else. And you have effectively made me a slave. And you don't give a shit. Who is the terrible person now?
Not a single reason. If your argument is going to be that there aren't enough hospitals, build more. If your argument is going to be there's not enough doctors, educate more. Get rid of the bar on education. Get rid of the incredibly high cost factor for education. But you can't do that either because...
Wait! That's where I don't know what conservatives' position on that would be, but I can tell you, I agree with you there. Get rid of the high bar to entry. Get rid of the licensing requirements. Yeah, build more. Get rid of the government regulations. You are so close to the truth. So close. And yet, so far.
Or hatred for some
Oh,
random
God.
obese guy who smokes. That spite is more important than upheaving a system that would allow people, after its upheaval, allow people to live happier, healthier, and better.
Agreed. I want to upheave the system. Now, maybe that argument was valid to conservatives. I don't know. I'm responding as a libertarian. But that is the way, Suris. That is the way. Get the government out of the equation, and healthcare will be more affordable, more accessible, more individualistic. That's what I want. I want everyone to have healthcare.
In this stupid positive negative right conversation. As if that is actually the heart of the issue. It's not.
It is, though. You just waving your little wand saying it isn't and calling it stupid doesn't make it not so. And you realize this in almost every other area of life, particularly, as I said, romantic, physical relationships, that sort of thing. You know, you've often said when arguing with the incels that they don't have a right to any woman's body just because they want sex. And sex is pretty important to the well-being of a person. It can drive people frickin' batty. Look what happened with Elliot Rodger, where I know he was also a nut, but, you know, being sexually deprived can be very harmful, but that doesn't mean any woman owes that dude sex. I would argue that sexual health is a big part of healthcare. In fact, there are sex workers who say so. That brings up an interesting point. It's well known, is it Switzerland, where the government actually provides sexual services. They pay for sex workers to go towards people who are unable really to get sexual satisfaction another way. It's usually like severely disabled folks. So now this should be paid for by everybody, but it gets more interesting than that, because I'm sure you believe like a doctor doesn't have the right to refuse service to anyone. So does this mean sex workers have to provide sexual health services to every taker or every comer? Oh, pun not intended, but funny nonetheless. Use your noodle.
That's what she said.
And we are getting to where I need to get ready to go to my protest. I hope you found that interesting. I probably will come back on later today. Actually, I have to put on my eyelashes, so maybe I'll stay on for a few more minutes because I have a few more Suris clips from a different show. But I also have some Dave Smith clips for later that I really, really would like to discuss with you guys. And I think and then there's this rando who's just being a dick and saying the LP is embarrassing. And I just wanted to take the piss out of him a little bit. So maybe do that later. But while I have to put on my eyelashes, why not? Let's play a little more Suris. This Suris portion, you know, we have some asshole libertarians in our midst. And apparently, I think... Now, I don't know this guy, and maybe the way Suris is representing him is making him out to be an asshole, so I don't want to judge him. But from what Suris shown, it was pretty bad. It seemed like very alt-righty edgelord, and I think this person is called the atheist libertarian. Let's go over what Suris had to say about this atheist libertarian.
Nobody has positive rights. Everybody only has negative rights. So there's no reason that a libertarian should have to wear a mask to protect you because your rights to personal protection stop short of their nose. That's the argument they're going to make to you.
And that is correct. Unless I am actually spreading an infection and it's known. Not a woulda, coulda, pre-crime, maybe. We can get into this maybe in depth in another episode, but as biological beings, our bodies are in a constant state of decay and potential failure. If we're going to get into a woulda, coulda, shoulda, you can have an aneurysm at any moment. And if you're driving a car or doing anything else dangerous, you could kill somebody. Inadvertently, your body could just malfunction. But unless you know that you have some kind of, weakened vessel that's about to burst, or have, you're a walking heart attack or whatever it might be, that's just a life. That's biological life, baby.
And then, of course, if they're cheeky enough, they'll go into that and go, hey, your right stopped at the end of my nose, and I'm not going to put the mask over my nose. Fuck you. But this maximum freedom mentality leads to harming others. You necessarily harm others here.
Necessarily. I've been out a bunch of times without a mask, and there hasn't been anyone harmed. And in some circumstances, I wear a mask, because there are some circumstances in which it is perfectly appropriate and wise, and if somebody asks me to. But I have yet to harm anyone. So don't overstate your case. There's no necessary about it. I'm trying to get my Lashify stuff out. That's what I'm reaching around here for. It's a home eyelash extension kit. So let's continue.
Currently, a third party cannot win. And when you say, oh, well, if everybody has that mentality, then the third party definitely can't win. Maybe you should change your mentality, and then a third party could win. Except you're always talking about an individual. You're talking to an individual when you say that.
Yes. So, a bunch of individuals make a group. And if enough individuals did that, then a third party could win. How do you think the Republican Party went from a third party to a major party? It's like saying to a business owner who's trying to make a successful business and sell a product, if enough people bought their product, they would be successful. But you're talking to individuals. Yeah, that's how it works, Suris. This isn't the Borg. It's just a weird argument.
For a third party to win, we would not need more individuals voting for third parties. That's not how it's going to fucking work.
That is exactly how it's going to fucking work, Suris. How else do you think it's going to work? Oh, God. Hold on, let me put on my eyelash glue. I'm not so great at this, so hopefully I won't fuck it up too bad. Okay, continuing.
Convince the fucking Electoral College to go for the third party too.
Okay, so I cut that off kind of weird. He says you're going to need more than a bunch of individuals voting third party. You're going to have to convince the fucking Electoral College too. Sirs, do you know how the Electoral College works? Because I don't think you do. It's a little different in each state, but to generalize, the parties themselves pick their electors. So if a third party happened to win in that state, it is their own hand-picked electors that cast the Electoral College votes for that state. Do you think it's really going to take, let's just say the Libertarian Party, a lot of convincing to convince the hand-picked Libertarian electors to cast their Electoral College votes? Oh my God. This is why faithless electors are rare. Oh, dude. I don't know if that was a misstatement of the tongue, or you really don't know how the Electoral College works.
Just having individuals vote for the third party is not realistically going to happen. You need to change the way voting is structured.
Okay, that is true. Agreed.
Ranked choice voting is a very good way of doing this. Till then, voting Democrat for the presidential election is a perfectly valid harm reduction strategy.
Is it, though? Whose harm is being reduced? You get the same old, same old. You're just treading water. Now, I'm not going to judge you for doing that. Like, if that's what you want to do, knock yourself out. But let's just take a look at the current. What's the harm reduction? When you voted for the guy who's been responsible for incarcerating more black people probably than any other politician combined, but I could be wrong, but it's certainly been a lot. Kamala Harris, was under investigation for withholding evidence and had accused the guy she's running with of sexual discrimination and harassment and all kinds of nasty things that all of a sudden just didn't matter anymore once he gave her the nod. Biden, I don't think he's ever been on the right side of a major history. He was in favor of a major decision, in favor of the Patriot Act, a corporate shill through and through. That's harm reduction? Are you smoking something? Wow. But okay.
Voting third party in your local offices so as to push your party further down the political line that you would like to do by getting more officials of political bent similar to you voted in. That happens at the local level. That's where you can do all your third party voting and where it can actually get people into office. But it's not going to work in the presidency. Not until you get something like ranked choice voting.
Suris just doesn't know how things work. Let's just say we agreed with him. I don't, but let's just say we did. And we do vote locally. He obviously does not know how his wonderful harm reduction Democrats and the Republicans have rigged the ballot access laws in some states that force us to run a presidential candidate or statewide race. It's not a choice. It's a matter of survival. So go talk to them. Plus, I don't need your permission where I can vote. Oh, there you can do your third-party work. Oh, gee, thanks, dude. I think I will pass and do it the way I want to. Your shitty candidates aren't entitled to our vote. We haven't swallowed the Kool-Aid that it's harm reduction. It's perpetuating the harm and kicking the can down the road to our children. Nice going. I gotta get this frickin' lash on. I think the glue dried. Maybe not. Okay, let's continue.
Happy Columbus Day! Dear conquered peoples, the history of humanity is one of constant conflict and competition for resources like land, food, water, and women. You whine about the fact that Europeans were here and are better at this contest than any other race in the world? So that they're worse than any other race in the world. You losers want us to regret being better at a contest and exploration than you were. Okay, so let's go ahead and consider the fact that Native people...
Just because I know that was a weird switch in context, this is the obnoxious, I think the guy called the libertarian atheist. I don't claim him because that meme was gross. That meme was gross. And all the criticism that Suris will heap upon it is deserved. I might criticize some of his arguments, but yeah, we don't claim that guy because that's a shitty meme and a shitty attitude. But it's, it's the edgelord types.
Were just as good, if not better, at exploration. And to them, it wasn't a contest. If you take... Oh, hello. This is a might makes right argument.
Well, there's some things there he can't know. Yeah, it's a might makes right argument, and that's the way most of the world has operated. Let me get this lash on. Oh, that's not bad. True. And at least as a libertarian, that's not the way we're supposed to be. Because just because you're stronger than somebody else doesn't mean you have the right to take things from them. And I'm not even making any kind of argument. The issue of the Americas is not quite as simple. But when he says it wasn't a contest to the native people, he's perpetuating the myth of the noble savage. They had wars amongst themselves for territory. They had different ideas about land, but they certainly had distinct ideas about territories. People are people. No matter where they are, they do good things, they do shitty things. Nobody's purely a saint or purely a sinner. So to say it wasn't a contest for them as a collective, you can't say that. There were some native peoples that it wasn't. There are some native peoples that it very much were, in which they were constantly at war and slaughtering their fellow native people. That's called humanity. It's just, unfortunately, the way most of history is gone, and we libertarians would like to change that.
Okay, so let's talk about egalitarianism for a second. Just for a second. If everybody merely has equal opportunity, but I have equal opportunity and I am living in a rich area on top of, like, let's just call this an island real quick. If we all have equal opportunity because we all have negative rights and that's all we have, but I am born in a civilization in a jungle and I have access to a tree city. I'm born in a tree city where food literally grows next to my house. Do I not have it better off and easier than somebody who grew up over on the beach and where there aren't many fish coming up and they don't have shelter because they're out in the fucking sand? These two people may have the same exact negative rights, therefore equal opportunity, but they cannot feasibly reach the same destination.
Okay, lots of misunderstanding there. Yes, they do have the same negative rights, but merely having negative rights does not equate to equal opportunity if people are oppressing your negative rights. Now, I know that wasn't part of his equation, but I just wanted to bring that up there. But yes, in life, in the game of life, there are people who, when they are born, have certain advantages and disadvantages. But what's funny is some things that look like a disadvantage end up being an advantage because they awake in somebody a competitive thirst and spirit. Sometimes people who are born with a silver spoon in their mouth never do anything. They never amount to anything because they were never want and need kind of drives human ambition. So there's just really no way to centrally plan or quantify that. But it is true. Some people are born pretty. Some people are born ugly. I mean, it happens. How are you going to equalize that? But it doesn't mean that they don't have equal opportunity to try. It does not mean equal ability. There is no way to ensure that. It would be absolute tyranny to try. I dealt with this really in depth in that Kamala Harris video. It's probably last month on my channel.
It's going to take much more work for one other person. Now, what fault is it of theirs that they can't? Well, none. They just happen to be born the wrong way, born in the wrong place. But then you get dipshits like this that go, "That's how the world should be. I won. So you can't do anything to me."
I'm not going to defend that guy. You know, the meme guy. And I don't know if he was saying that's the way the world should be. Maybe because there was a hint of like white supremacism in there. Or European supremacism in there. But, and I'm not going to defend that. But whether or not that's the way the world should be, the bare fact that we all aren't equally gifted in the exact same ways. It's just the way the world is. Simple fact. Okay, so that is it for this segment. Maybe we'll come later where I'll try to get through the backlog. Let me see if there's any comments I'd like to address. And yeah, maybe we'll talk about the Dave Smith clips later. I think I'm developing a huge political crush on Dave Smith. Don't tell him. Oh yeah, Valerie, I know the comments on his stream are just awful, awful. Okay, you guys, I think I will try to catch up on my, backlog later, but now I gotta go off to that protest. Probably will film a little bit there too. Later, it was nice seeing you.
You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians or choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business, not because